By the way, your posts are always one of my favorites.
Well, thank you.
Do the greenery and
That's
stuff.
very kind of you.
Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt. I'm your host for Inside the C-Suite, where execs get real about leadership, impact, and what truly drives the high-stake decisions. I'm honored to have on the show today Daniel Chait.
Close.
Oh.
Good enough.
Chait, Daniel Chait. Got it. CEO of Greenhouse, and Greenhouse is a monster. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy you're here. So I know Greenhouse has a booth. You guys show up and show out every year. You have a great marketing team. So tell us a little bit about you and Greenhouse and what makes you guys better than anybody else.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here. It's exciting, and thanks for the kind words. So I'm Daniel Chait, co-founder and CEO of Greenhouse. A little about me, I've been an entrepreneur almost my whole career. So I grew up in Michigan, went to U of M, Go Blue for those of us out there, and started my career as a programmer. But I never lasted more than 9 months in a job. And after leaving a job as a programmer in 1997, I started a business, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since. So in the early part of my career, I was building software companies, and I really learned that for me to get what I wanted to get done, I had to be great at hiring. And it didn't matter the strategy, it didn't matter the opportunity. If you couldn't hire the talent you needed to, you were dead. And if you could, the sky's the limit. And so I kind of found my way into hiring as an entrepreneur and thinking about through engineering to like, how do I optimize this process to get where I'm trying to get to? I never thought of recruiting as paperwork, administrative, kind of like that people would say. And so when we started Greenhouse in 2012, we had this vision. Every company can be great at hiring, but they have to work differently in order to do that. And so that's really what we're all about at Greenhouse, is our mission to help every company in the world become greater.
So that's beautiful. But you cut, because I've been a recruiter in the recruitment industry, talent industry for 20 years. And you said you're a programmer, you never lasted more than 9 months.
I was very ambitious. And I think, to be honest, I found a bit of a values mismatch in the workforce. So I made my way to New York. I got a job at this giant corporation. I thought I was like, this is it. I made it. They were a massive company with like a big marble lobby right on Wall Street. And I'm looking up at this thinking like, I never thought I could get here. This is incredible. Get up the elevator, and it is like a sea of beige cubicles as far as the eye can see. And I remember being all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I wanted all this impact, and basically the boss just wanted you to sit down and shut up and build a customer. I just couldn't do that. And so I kept butting up against that system. And then the first chance I had, which I was very fortunate to start a company, I just thought, oh, here I can, live and die by my own effort. I can work hard. I can be mission driven. I can try to deliver for customers, and that's what's exciting to me. And so I took the lead the first chance I could get. Learned a lot of lessons along the way. I'm sure we'll talk about some of that too. But ultimately, really found that where I'm best is when I'm challenged to try to do what I have and to try to learn.
You are clearly a motivated and curious leader.
I mean, I like to say being a startup founder is like the easiest job in the world to get, but a really hard job to do. And so, that was what I was motivated to do. But if you're going to be, this is our 14th year Greenhouse, you have to try really hard. So.
Well, I think if you're delusional enough to believe, right, until it happens, which is a beautiful thing to see, and it's so great to see that you guys have such good tenure and you have really great clients. Like, who are some of your, I'm not going to ask your favorite, that's like asking who's your favorite
All
child.
my clients are my favorite clients.
I tell my boys, I have 2 boys, and they'll say, Mom, who's your favorite? So whoever I'm talking to.
I mean, we have amazing clients. I mean, to me, like, people get really impressed with kind of big brand names and like big companies that maybe they've heard of. So Airbnb, I've always been a long-time customer of Greenhouse. And a lot of people stayed in Airbnb as they have a very positive impression of the brand. But we have customers that you maybe have never heard of. They're not like consumer brands. But I always think about like, what are the interesting things that they're doing, hiring? And you look at, I was on site at a customer in LA. I'm not able to say the name, but like we went through their hiring dashboard, and I was like, they're smarter about hiring numbers than any company I've ever seen. You learn a lot from customers.
Yes.
So the thing I always think about is like, I draw a little 2x2 of how ambitious or challenging is that customer, and then how collaborative are they. And for me, the best customers are always in the upper right of that. They're like really ambitious. They want a lot from you. What you've done is never enough. They always want more, but they're super collaborative about it. They're not angry, they're not mad. They don't just like dismiss you. They go, you know, like they help pull you in that direction. That's where I love to be. And so I'm really happy with the customers.
I'm so glad to hear you say that just as a leader, because our clients are the indicators of what's next. And so, and we do oftentimes have a different perception. We're doing things differently. That is in line with how we believe. And I love that we're doing clients that go, hey, this would be really cool. What about that? Yeah, that would be really
Can
cool.
we help
Let's
you
go
there?
build it.
I mean, look, we're sitting here at HR Tech. There's about 97 million square feet of vendors
Yes.
represented here. And so I wake up every day acutely aware of the fact that my customers have to choose to stay with Greenhouse. And they get the choice every single day, whether or not they want to renew, stay, join. And so, you know, on one hand, that's a lot of pressure. But on the other hand, you know, it really does keep you honest. It helps you, focus on, you got to make sure that you're doing what those customers need. You're delivering a lot of value. And I think that's its own art and science, because we talked about, like, you really got to listen to customers, you learn from them. You don't have all the answers, you don't have all the questions. And at the same time I think there's a trap sometimes of just listening to customers or just listening to your sales team. And if every time the sales team hears, something that a prospect wants, you just did that one thing with win the deal, and they run over the product and they go and they do it over and over again. You can get to a place where, like, you've won a lot of customers, and you built a product that everybody wants to make together. And so there's all this challenge of, like, how do you navigate what the market is asking for, what your vision is, with what competitors are doing, with what. And so you got to, navigating that balance is
That, you said that so beautifully, because it is exactly what it is. You gotta have your salespeople understanding what the product is, what's coming out, what's now, what's urgent, what's next.
yeah.
Right?
And so
it wasn't applicable to everybody versus a one-off.
you got it. And so I know you asked a question about 45 minutes ago that I'll answer now, which was, so what do you think you're best at? And I would say, all the things, some people might say it's like our HR technology, which I think is really cool. I think the truth is it's that. It's this idea that, Greenhouse, we have a clear vision of where we're going, where hiring is going, where things need to go. And if we just did that and didn't listen to customers, we'd end up in some weird ivory tower that nobody would hire. On the other hand, if you just listen to what your sales team is telling you, you'll be responsible for a bunch of deals, but you'll end up kind of down the dead end, and the product really goes together. I think what we're doing better than anyone is staying true to our mission, understanding the long-term vision where we're going, and yet really balancing like, what is the market saying, what do customers need right now, and you have to earn the right to get to that next stage, and really have to work.
Well, I mean, you obviously have to earn the right. You've been around for a little
So
bit.
far.
So, what's up and coming, or what have you guys rolled out recently? Because just based on what you're doing, and even if I didn't chat about GPT or Google you, I know that you have some really cool stuff, innovation coming up.
Isn't that amazing that the way we find out information has changed so quickly? It's all Google was like the word for looking stuff up.
Now there's more. What is it? It's like 2 to 3 million less searches on Google every year.
It's unbelievable how fast that's changed. So that's like a bit of a science track, but it keeps like interesting things. We're here with a bunch of announcements at HR Tech. As always, our product team is not resting on the laurels, working really hard. So we are landing an all new Greenhouse Analytics package. This is a ground-up rewrite. So if you've looked at Greenhouse reporting in the past, you don't know what Greenhouse Analytics is capable of until you see what we've got coming out. It is the ability to interrogate every last corner of your data, of your hiring data. It is the ability to slice and dice and package exactly how you want, really fine-grained controls. It is the ability to do visualizations and collaboration around data, sharing that around your organization in ways that, boss likes to see pictures, the data team wants the numbers, other people want to see it on the dashboard when you log in, like all of that stuff is landing with Greenhouse Analytics. Customers are super excited about it. We've got lots of folks that have looked at it in beta, and I can't wait for that to be
It feels like that's a baked in reporting analyst that no one has to pay for.
Well, it comes with Greenhouse.
Well, I mean,
Yes, it's a tremendous value. It's a tremendous value. But look, I think we've always said that if you're going to be great at hiring, which is a mission, great at hiring, you got to go, what does that really mean? And we've talked about 4 disciplines it takes as a company to hire, and one of them is data operations. If you don't have a robust ability to understand what's happening in the hiring pipeline, to use data to optimize and get better, you're just not going to succeed, because recruiting is competitive, recruiting is dynamic, where the candidates are, what your competitors are doing to hire them is changing, what people want, what techniques are going to work, all of that. And so if you don't have the ability to use data, you're going to sink. So that's been the core of our approach for this.
I personally love hearing that, so being that I've been in town and I come up from hearing maybe in different places, but I cannot tell you the number of times that I've heard clients say they don't know what their attrition is, they don't know what their time is, they don't know how many people to get to a sleep, they don't have any of this information, and so it makes it really hard for them to identify the gaps that they don't want to go after it. So this is changing the game and helping town future leaders
Tell
really
the
be a
story.
partner.
You got it.
Because that's the disconnect with upper leadership is, and I think that HR is taking a huge role as, I don't know, admins in some cases, actually, and so thought leaders, is it's actually enabling them to be a thought leader and bring it to the use and the C-suites and say, this is what I'm seeing, here's what, like, you're giving them a seat at the table.
You got it. Look, data is the language of business, right? And we see this all the time where the recruiters know what's happening. They're in it every day. And so they're thinking, oh my gosh, we have to change the way that this interview process is happening. We have to do different intake meetings where we got a challenge in this part of the funnel. But if they can't show that with data, it doesn't go anywhere. And then their hiring manager is left going like, I think my recruiting team is bad. Because what else are they going to think? And so I think it really puts you on that foot as a recruiting team. And you just got to hire you talk to a VP of engineering or a head of sales. You're like, where's my team? Where's my why have you hired my person yet? It's like, well, actually, we've got some data that shows that you're taking 4 days to return your interview feedback, or 40% of the time, the hiring managers go through the candidates leading to a higher drama, or whatever those things are. It's like it's not about playing, but it's like if we can locate the problem, we can address it. And I think without that data, you're just
So outside of the reporting, are there any other?
Yeah, so that's a big one. We announced in earlier in the year that we're launching Real Talent, which is combating fraud, combating spam, and misrepresentation in the hiring process. Our customers are telling us they're just overwhelmed. It used to be that customers wanted access to candidates, and they'll do anything to get it. How do I get that last email out to that candidate, get some attention, send them my way? And now, that has totally changed, where people are overwhelmed with pipelines. And amidst all the true applicants, you've got AI making it harder to tell who's real and who isn't.
Yep.
You've got people's resumes looking more and more alike, and so you can't even tell the difference between them because everyone's using ChatGPT or AI tools to analyze the job description, update my resume accordingly, and send it in. Then you've got the true kind of there are these rogue state actors that are kind of infiltrating IT workers with the true misrepresentation. I've seen customers have showed me here on this very trade show floor screenshots of deepfakes of people showing up as someone else in an interview. And so these things are happening to customers. And so Real Talent is a way for us to comprehensively, through fraud analytics, look at different signals of who's applied from, the price they are, as well as challenge them to really prove biometrically who you are, who you say you are, which can sound like a bit of a gate, but the truth is when we talk to job seekers, they're desperate to do this. Job seekers hate this data. It's not working for them at all. And if you tell them, hey, in 30 seconds you can take a selfie and prove to the employer that you are who you say you are, clear away all the noise about saying how that people think that's a great way to solve something.
Well, and there's been so many, we've seen all sorts of years where people hired different IDs and they were actually minors, and all the things that come with that, and you've got fraud. It's about what the average person said, we had 7 points of fraud in a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so when you think about that, you think about the candidates and what they're getting. And so I haven't been on the hourly market, nor have I had my resume out there for years and years and years and years. So tell me why I get text messages from people saying that they're XYZ, so these are out in Florida, and it's not them. And it's from a WhatsApp number, and my background looks great for this hourly role, with $20 an hour.
That's right. I get those as well. So to anyone out there emailing me or texting me, I'm not looking to.
I'm not looking for $20 an hour.
I'm not looking to staff your call center, no offense. But those things are happening. They're happening on both sides. And so really trying to tackle that issue, and not just the misrepresentation, not just the harmful misrepresentation like that, but also just the very natural, very understandable reaction that job seekers are having is, I got a lot of empathy. If you're out in the job market right now, it's hard. And so they are very understandably reacted by using their own tools. They're like, hey, I got ChatGPT, I can use any number of candidate application automating tools to help me scour the internet in real time for all the jobs that I might look at, customize my resume and cover letter based on the job description, and send it in automatically while I'm sleeping. So I wake up in the morning, I've sent out 200, 300 job applications. Now, I don't know about you, the last time I was in the job market, I had to go to Kinko's and print resumes on paper. It was like, do you want the ivory or do you want the cream? You know, and you had to buy a stamp. So it was hard. It took time. It took money. And so I applied like, I don't know, 10 jobs, or 12 jobs, or whatever. But now you can push a button and basically blast it out to 1,000 companies. So the amount of job seeking activity is going way up, but the amount of signal, the amount of actual information in those is going way down. And so it's also about helping job seekers stand out on all that noise and helping employers find out who amongst all that, forget all the bad behavior and all the fraud, just like who should I actually spend time with that's actually relevant to this job. So that's all about what Real Talent is. So kind of working with that, the third big announcement we have is My Greenhouse, which is our candidate portal. And so our customers have enabled My Greenhouse as the front end application for an employer's page for a job seeker to come in, and they can do things like they can click apply, not have to retype all their information every time they apply to a job. They can subscribe to job alerts. So if they're in the market and they don't see the exact job that they want, they haven't gotten yet, they say, oh, I'm interested in jobs like this, and they get alerts when those jobs will come. They can probably one of the most exciting pieces of it is they can designate one job a month as their dream job. And what the dream job is, it's kind of like a really applied college. It's like you're saying this one's special. Yeah, I may be automatically applying to 100 jobs. But this is the one I want most, the one I think I'm the best able to get. And that is a really useful signal to the employer. So in Greenhouse, when you're looking at a job, you're looking through the pipeline, you now see a prioritized inbox of like people who've been referred by your employees, and you also see people who designate some dream job. And those applicants are converting at like a 4 times higher rate than other applicants. So it's a really meaningful signal. And it's just a way to like cut through the AI loop and get the humans back in the process. And you can express who you are and what you want. So I'm excited about Dream Job. Hundreds of people have got their Dream Job already on the platform. We just launched it, so it's really neat.
I hope marketing's coming a field day with Dream
It's really
Job.
fun.
It
It's
would
really
be fun.
fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So I'm curious, all of the tech out there and all the AI we know that it's out there.
How long has it been you just said AI?
I know, like AI. But is there a difference with the vendors out there that are focusing only on front line and kind of how quick they're getting people through? Is there a component? Because when I look at Greenhouse, I think of but it's different.
I think that reflects a mindset that is changing. And I think, like in the olden days, again, like when I was, think about a few years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, there were like these two very different worlds. And for a while, they were actually diverging. They were getting further apart because you had this thing where if you are a programmer, the last thing in the world I want to do is put you in front of the phone. Like, I'm going to flood you with attention. And if I'm hiring for 7-Eleven, I'm not going to talk to you. I text you, and you're showing. And I think those worlds are actually converging. So there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of interest in the market these days because there's been some like big acquisitions and deals announced and high volume hiring. But I think the reality is those things are becoming more similar over time because everyone's interacting with a chatbot. Everyone's talking to AI, and everybody's moving quickly. And so I think the world of like what we used to call like high volume worker hiring and the worlds of like we used to call like people say white collar office worker or like high value hiring, those are converging more and more. And I think we're going to start to see that they're really not so different at all. And so you talk about Greenhouse, we have customers today, have for a long time, who hire, if you're an e-commerce company, you've got what looks like a tech business, right? You've got like marketers and finance and product and salespeople, and then you've got what looks like a manufacturing business in the back end. Right. You're putting stuff in boxes, you're driving stuff around. And so we've always had customers that are hiring both of those. I need to fill up a warehouse or hire a bunch of restaurant workers and a kind of more traditional office environment. And so the differences in those are going to be similar.
It's nice to hear you say that because I know, and I've been in business for a long time, but you see like the hourly specific lunches I think are great for that. And then you've got kind of your traditional ones like yours that you automatically think professional hiring, but I know there's a role that I know that HR and TA are one for the system.
That's right.
And so it's like, how do you serve both?
Yeah, and I think it's just all kind of a continuity. It's like, well, if you're hiring, so we talked about two ends of the spectrum just now, but there's actually like, if you talk about, if you're hiring like, a C-level executive, there's even a further level of like really high touch, and a lot of money you're going to spend in that one process. And then there's these like middle jobs too, where it's like if you're hiring a BDR, if you're hiring, other entry level kind of intern, office worker, you might be somewhere in the middle where you might want them to talk to an AI for the first step or two, and then maybe come on in and get something in the office for them. So I think people are finding that there's just really, every job is going to sit somewhere on that spectrum, and how much automation, how much personalization is really down to your hiring. When is it worth it to sort of spend time one-to-one? It's not like two different things.
Yeah, well, I mean, some humans, they're trying to get them hired, and they're trying to get hired.
At the end of the day, it's like you're either hiring someone or you're not, right?
That's true. So tell me really quickly, because I mean, you have a monster at the ship that you've been sailing, and I'm sure that has come with some sneezes and W's. What's a time that you felt that was really difficult for you?
How long do we have? I mean, yeah, to your point, you don't get to do what I get to do. I'm very lucky to do it without making some mistakes along the way. Just because we were talking about, I'll go all the way back to the beginning. My first business that I started back in the late 90s. And so I was young, full of energy. We talked a little bit about the positive of that. Yeah. But also, I think when you're young, you probably like a little bit less understanding of how the world really works. And there was a time when we were involved in a lawsuit, a legal dispute over some intellectual property, and we knew we were wrong. We'd been accused of basically like copying someone's code, and we were like, no, here's the code, we wrote it, it's clearly it's in a different programming language, it's nothing to do with yours, and we knew we were right. And so what we chose to do with that information was like, we're gonna fight this thing. Hired a lawyer, went to court, did all this stuff, it took months and months and months, and a huge amount of money. And in the end, we won. It was a disaster. It cost us a huge. And I think the lesson I learned out of that was, it's fine if you're right, but sometimes you have to think about what are the costs of being, especially when you get involved in the legal system. Like you got to be really careful, because being right and wrong doesn't always matter in court as much as it does. Like, what are the risks? What are the costs? What are the time involved? And I think I look back on the months and months we spent on that, tens of thousands of dollars we spent on that. How much more productive we have been if we just passed the issue and found a little way. So
energy.
It's just psychic energy, all of it. And so I think that shows up in a bunch of different ways. When we have 500 partners in Greenhouse, we have 7,500, 8,000 customers, and there's always issues that come up. And I think now when I look back 25 years ago, I probably would have been like, no, here's what it says in the contract. You must do this. And now it's like, you know what? You got a business to run. I got a business to run. Let's figure out if there's a way to do this. Move over their lives. And I think just to have having that level of flexibility and perspective, I learned it the hard way, but I'm glad.
And thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable, because you're not in an angry temper. You are human, and everybody, we learn from each other. It's a beautiful thing. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'm honored that you came to join me live at HR Tech. You have lots of options, so thank you for coming by.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you want to leave our audience with?
Well, you can always come to our booth if you're here in person. If you're watching us on the internet, www.greenhouse.com. There's tons of information about all of our products, lots of content that you can look and learn. So I encourage you to join us.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you for joining us on Work Defined on Inside the C-Suite. Please like and follow, and go check out Greenhouse. Bye.
Thanks.